Was a time of the preach when the story begun. Choice of a woman and the love of a man, and how he loved her so dearly. He went out of his mind. Well, she left him for someone she left behind, and he cried just like a baby, screamed just like a panther in the middle of the night.
Good evening, everybody. We are so thrilled that you decided to take your time on Wednesday night to join up with us. Ronnie is just now running up the stairs.
Yeah.
I told him not to hurt himself.
Here, what did I miss?
What did you miss? The time of the preacher, the intro, my friend. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you? Settled into your new house?
Yes, slowly getting settled.
It's great. It's great. Welcome to the big city. Glad you're here.
Welcome to 20A.
That's right. 28.
I love it.
The loop.
I love saying it.
Uh,
Get your breath.
I'm winded. I'm old. Everything's good. Glad to be here tonight. So thankful that, we dodged a hurricane bullet, to say the least, but our friends in the Bayou country did not.
Yeah, it's our luck is someone else's misfortune.
So-
Unfortunately, regarding that.
Folks in Lake Charles, Louisiana, Port Arthur, Texas, points east and west of there. Rough few days. I've got friends in Port Arthur. I hope they're not. Well, I know they're not there now. Texted them earlier today, and they have evacuated. So we'll keep you up to date on that, because I know there's going to be a required massive response, but it's going to take a good deal of time to figure out the best way that we can help. You have another announcement from Sarah Ann. Have you got that in front of you?
I sure do. Do you have the info on that?
I do.
Mine's on the phone, though.
Oh, yeah.
My phone is being used for camera.
So Sarah Ann mentioned when she was with us a few weeks ago about launching her podcast, Amen, Sister Friend.
Yes.
And she has launched it. She launched it just today. And it's available on
Apple Podcasts and
Apple
Spotify.
Podcasts, Spotify, and she also has AmenSisterFriend.com.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is the site. So reach out to her and see if you see that. I think that would be just fantastic for you to jump in with that. I'm trying to find our page here so I can jump in with the comments. Oh, there we are. We are live. All right. Oh, there she is. There's Sarah Ann now, even as we speak. So, got to turn my sound down. All right, I'm in the game now. I'm in the game now. It took me a minute.
You're fully here.
Really distracted for a second. Also, you're all going to be getting a letter after tonight about our tentative reopen. We tried in July and had a tourism outbreak in more ways than one. And so we're going to try for Sunday, September 20th. A full 6 months. Can you believe that?
It's absolutely crazy. When I stop to think about it, it's like the last time we were together was March 15th.
Crazy.
And it's been half a year. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
How many people we haven't seen?
I know what I'm going to ask our special guest tonight, later, if her church has opened up yet. I think it has, to some degree, but she'll let us know about that. So when we reopen, we are going to maintain some social distance, which means we are going to have reduced seating. Going to ask folks to wear masks when they're in the larger groups. Going to ask that you respect people's personal space. I know it's the Christian thing to do, to give holy kisses and hug necks, but we're not going to do that right now. That's not the safest thing to do.
That means you need to stop greeting me with a brotherly kiss.
It's going to be hard on a few folks. There's a few folks in this crowd, all they do is want to kiss you when you see them, you know? And you know who you are out there, people. So you're going to have to restrain yourself just a little bit with that. Ample hand sanitizer will be available. small groups will be diligent about cleaning their space after they join. We will have 2 Sunday morning services. Our usual snowbird schedule will be implemented early because, well, again, by reducing seats, we also want to reduce the size of crowds. 9 and 10:30. So those of you that like that early service, you're going to get it back. There'll be no child care or children's church planned for the 9 o'clock service. We won't pass the offering basket. We'll make those available at the doors. We're not going to be serving communion weekly, not initially. We're rethinking how we can best keep that tradition with all that going. Nick Turner just says give chocolate kisses. So, hey, that's a good idea.
I'm completely okay with that.
I'm good with that. That would be good. So thanks, Nick. That's a good suggestion. And the other 30 or so folks who have joined us so far tonight, you're not going to want to miss this. So start your watch parties, because I guarantee you that before the night's over, you're going to learn some information, possibly about someone you know that you didn't know previously.
I love that.
All right. And then our virtual worship gatherings are going to continue because they have exceeded all of our expectations for 6 months. 6 months into the coronavirus, and we are still averaging 600-700 participants a week, which is twice what sometimes 3 times what we could do normally. And we have picked up folks all over the country and all over the world, and we want to be good stewards of that and make sure that they can stay tuned in with that. We're largely dependent upon internet provider to do that,
right.
So we've got some work to do.
And speaking on that, tomorrow Ronnie and I are going to be doing a test run, I guess, to put it simply. We're going to be testing out our internet at the church to see if it can.
It's just a
if
little
it has
shade.
the strength.
It's just a little shade faster than dial-up, I think. So I'm not
right.
sure we can get it done, but we're going to give it a try. So if you see a strange broadcast tomorrow, which is stranger than our typical ones,
right? It's
then
just
that's
us playing
going
around, and you might see another special guest tomorrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away.
No, don't give it away. Don't give it away. Don't give it away. All right, so that gets us started tonight, and we have I'm so excited about this, genuinely. It's taken me 50 years almost in my life to be excited about this type of a thing. But you mature into these sort of things, don't you? Our special guest tonight is Miss Connie Post. Connie McBrayer Post. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is my evil twin that I've been telling you about for all of these years. And she is joining us tonight from the great state of South Carolina. And we had a little technical glitch right at the beginning here. Her electronics did not want to cooperate with our electronics, but we adjusted, and here we are. Welcome to our quarantine Q&A that we thought would last for 3 or 4 weeks. And now 6 months into this, here we keep going. And how's the weather? Is it hot in South Carolina?
It's hot in South Carolina. Evil twin, like that's the best that you could do.
That's just what crossed my mind at the moment. So,
we could say Wonder Twin powers maybe, but the weather's hot in South Carolina. It's humid. We had a little bit of rain, but it's hot as always.
Just remember, as you shared with me back in May, on May 4th, Star Wars Day, that remember it is a set of fraternal twins that save the universe.
That's right. A set of fraternal twins saved the world, so we are destined for great things still.
Got that, Garrett?
We're just getting started.
I did, yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately, I'm not a twin.
No, you're not a twin. That would be really terrifying. There were 2 of you.
Oh, exactly. Imagine what she would look like if.
I know it.
What kind of beard she would have.
But people would ask you, Garrett. They would ask you over and over and over again.
What?
Even though she.
What did I tell you?
Are you identical?
What did I say? What did I say? Garrett asked me tonight. He said.
And over again.
To which you respond in every way.
I respond.
That's
no,
right.
he has a beard and my hair is longer.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, insane. But that's exactly right. Though I told him tonight. He said,
"It's true."
What's a question that I could ask her? And I said, ask her if we are identical. Because that is a question that we receive time and time and time again. Hey, I do have some legitimate questions for you tonight.
Okay.
And if any of these would get you in trouble in your current place of employment or service, then you feel free not to.
I'm passing.
Not to answer. All right.
Okay.
Number one, are you, at nearly 50 years of age, dependent yet upon reading glasses?
Some of the time. I was dependent upon reading glasses until I found a wonderful thing called bifocal contacts, which changed my life.
I see.
So yes, I am dependent upon a bifocal lens all the time.
I was just checking. I'm not there quite there yet. I wear these glasses for screen time.
Yes, but you had LASIK surgery like a million years ago, didn't you?
I had LASIK, but that doesn't help as your eyes age.
Gotcha.
It goes in the opposite directions. I just had to make sure of that.
Yes.
All right.
And so now if I have to read something really, really small, I still have to pull out the readers.
Or you ask one of your children.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
usually what I do is I ask one of my kids, what does this say?
Well, you got a bunch of kids and you got a husband and you have a life in South Carolina, so folks don't know who you are necessarily that are watching tonight here. So tell us a little bit about you and your life and your family there.
Well, I do have a husband. He is the pastor of a Southern Baptist church here in South Carolina. I have 5 children, have 1 son, 4 daughters. My son is on the autism spectrum. He's high functioning. He just started college last week. He's doing online courses. My oldest girl is profoundly autistic and not verbal. And then I have 3 other daughters who are neurotypical. And I'm a health coach. I work for a chiropractor when I'm not in the middle of a COVID pandemic. And I teach Bible studies and, stay busy.
And the ages of your kids?
They are 19, 17, 16, 12, and 10. So I started having kids when I was 30, and I had all of them before I was 40. I turned 40 right after the last one. So it was a very busy decade.
On our official feed here, Connie, it says that Roy McBrayer has joined. So he is watching. So be aware.
He's watching.
He's
Our
watching.
dad is watching.
Yeah, our father is watching.
So we can't say anything.
Oh, I'm
about him?
gonna say it all. I don't care.
Say it. Go ahead.
I don't care at all. How long have you been at the current congregation that y'all are working with?
We've been here just past 10 years. We celebrated our 10th anniversary, and it was it's interesting sometimes when you move to a church or are called to a church as a family, you think it's going to be one way, and we thought, we'll go there, we'll do good work, but we realized after we got here that a lot of good things in this area for our children with special needs, and so it was really a fabulous move for our entire family to have resources that were not available to us before. And we get to serve a great congregation, and they are wonderful at accepting our children and helping them. It's unique because when you have a child with, particularly one who's profoundly autistic, who's not verbal, there's a lot of behaviors and various things that go along with that. So church is very, very hard for families with special needs, but we had to figure out a way to make it work because we were the family that was the pastor and his wife. And so this congregation has allowed us the freedom and platform to educate them on this particular special need, and they have embraced it in so many ways. We're very blessed and fortunate. And
you obviously you've been an advocate, an activist in many ways for causes surrounding autism. But Cadence, who you said is really profoundly autistic, just recently it's been revealed that she actually does not have autism per se, but a genetic mutation. Very rare, is that right?
Yes, it's a very rare genetic overgrowth syndrome that causes autism, causes all the autistic symptoms and behaviors. Because autism really, they haven't found the autism gene necessarily, so it's more of a diagnosis of symptoms more than it is okay, you can't take a blood test, you can't find a gene,
Right.
that says this is autism. It's sort of a spectrum. It's defined by behaviors and lack of speech and those kind of things. So she was diagnosed with autism when she was 3, but now we realize that there's a genetic mutation which was the cause for all the autistic stuff. So she still carries the diagnosis of autism, but now we have an understanding of why it came about. And it turns out that this genetic disorder is extremely rare. There's only about 100 people in the world who've been diagnosed with it. It was only discovered in 2016. Wow. And it's called Tatten-Brown-Raman syndrome, and it's an overgrowth syndrome. So this child, she's almost 18, but she's been 6 feet tall for probably 4 years. And so she towers over me. She puts her arm around me, just tucks me in under her arm. You know, she's very tall. The incident is like 1 in 7 million people or something like that. It's crazy. So she's probably the only person in South Carolina who has this diagnosis. So it's new to us. We just found out about a month ago. So we're trying to get our mind around all that might mean for her, right, and health issues in the future.
Well, and certainly this is not what you anticipated or planned. And
No.
Even the life that you are living and have lived for these 25 years you've been in church ministry with Michael. That's her husband's name, by the way, Michael.
Right.
And but early on, you were planning to go a different route, to go into missions.
That's right.
You went to Word of Life up in Upper New York State, completed a degree at Liberty University in English, I believe. You were an English major.
That's right.
And you were heading somewhere else. So what led you initially to say, I think I could do missions overseas? What was that initial thought process like?
I think when you're growing up, especially if you have a heart for God and you want to serve Him, that we're taught that we need to surrender to that. Like we need to follow God. And so sometimes I think in an effort to understand what God's will is, we just want to make the sacrifice. I'll go wherever, I'll do whatever. And so I said, I'll just do whatever. And I really felt like I wanted to make a difference in the world. And that's how I saw that I can make a difference. And so I went to Bible school to learn to be that person. And then I went to and got an additional degree in English. So if I wanted to go overseas and teach, then I would have those options. But as I was closing in on that final degree, I really felt impressed that, wow, it's hard to explain. I can't even describe it. I think sometimes we have encounters with God that are beyond our ability to explain, but I just felt that maybe there's something else happening here, because I was just hanging on to the idea that I have to serve God because I love Him. But when I finally let go of that, I can serve God wherever He wants me to. It doesn't have to be overseas. I'll go wherever. And that means if I stay here, then that's okay too. And things have really come full circle, because I'd never anticipated having children with autism. But the doors of opportunity that have opened up for me to share my faith or to encourage other people in that community has been phenomenal, because it's a very isolated community. If you have a child who can't sit in church, who runs away from the children's program, who makes really loud noises, those families feel isolated because they can't even do basic things like go to church or McDonald's or get to the grocery store. So to have a people group that needs encouragement, I see now how the Lord can redeem anything. Maybe not what we intended, but He can take anything that's come our way and use it. And so I did start writing a blog about 5 years ago called Grace in the Real World. It's graceintherealworld.com, that shares a journey of hope and encouragement for families dealing with special needs and just encouragement in general. So
we have several children in our church with special needs, and the often the contact is my wife Cindy, because she teaches special needs in the school classroom. And so those families are always saying, yeah, we would go to church, but it's too much work, or the other children or the adults don't understand, and it takes a while, and you don't want to go around as a issue of dignity to say, oh, give that child a break, he has special needs. It's not like that, but there has to be this sort of community awareness that it's a ministry in some ways just to let the child be,
right,
rather than why haven't they learned to behave? Well, they may be nonverbal, they may not be able to communicate, they may be working off of a flashcard board at school, and then they come into the our world, and those communication pieces are not in play, and they're confused. So all those things, and I do think there's a growing awareness in churches
absolutely.
For this.
Absolutely. When we started this journey, 15, 16 years ago, there was, one in thousands of kids were diagnosed. Now it's one in 60 something, so there's an awareness that's there that wasn't there, and it's making its way into the church. Sometimes, unfortunately, the church can often be the last to catch up with the need, unfortunately. But one thing you have to remember too is that all of your church workers, for the most part, are volunteers, and they haven't been trained, and so they have a heart for kids or kids with special needs, but what I hear often is they're afraid that they're not going to do something right, that they're going to do something wrong, and the child is not going to be taken care of the way that they need. So that's a little bit scary for them. But we've just been fortunate enough to have a platform to be able to educate people, because my husband is the pastor. So when she gets loud during a church service, he just works it right in and say, Cadence is the amen crowd today, or something like that, and we just go with it. So not everybody has that freedom or opportunity. So we've been blessed that way.
All right, Garrett, I believe, has a question for you.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So I know you can't see me because I'm off camera, the setup we have, but hopefully you can hear me and hear me well. Yeah, I'm just, over the last couple years, I've had the opportunity to listen to Ronnie share about his influences and people that have left a positive imprint in his life growing up, and that helped kind of change his trajectory and led him into ministry and have been a positive influence in that way. So I'm curious, being his twin sister and growing up in the same household, did you have similar influences? What kind of people impacted you in the way that led you to take a similar route into going to Bible college and seeking mission as a line of work? Because it's not unusual for one or two people in the family to go to Bible college, but it is kind of rare for twins, to take a similar route.
Path,
yeah. So basically, essentially, your influences similar, different than Ronnie. Share with us about that.
Yeah, I can probably say with about 99.99% accuracy that he would say that one of the biggest influencers in his life was our grandmother. She was phenomenal in her love for us and her acceptance, and so she really impacted our life just in terms of keeping us grounded, and we saw her go through stuff, and she was always just so solid. And to watch that, it gives you strength to know that that you can do the same. And I would say from the influences, though, Ronnie and I almost called him Michael. Sorry about that.
Right.
My husband, Ronnie, and I, we took very different paths. He kind of stayed closer to home and did school online. I went away, was gone for years before, and it took me a long time to get married. And we've even had different influences and he started in the ministry very early, but we kind of always have been this way where we always take a different path, but we end up back at the same spot. Doing similar things, not necessarily, the same way. We've always kind of done the same things, but we've never done it the same way. He and I are on different ends of the spectrums when it comes to some things, but we still want to be people of purpose. And I think, church played a role in that. He and I both have had the negatives and the positives of church that have influenced us. And sometimes the negative influence causes you just to figure out a different way to live life. And that's a positive thing. So, yeah. Would you agree, Ronnie?
I would. The only question that I would have as a follow-up is why do you think that I was grandmother's favorite and you were not? So, that's all I need to know. So go.
No
sorry. Go ahead. All right. Garrett has a question. Garrett has a question.
Do you know, though, Ronnie, I don't know if you know this, but at her funeral, we were eating afterwards, and I was sitting with all the girl cousins.
They all thought they were the favorite.
Yes, one of them said, well, that I was grandmother's favorite, and the other one said, oh, no, I was her favorite. And I was like, y'all are out of your mind. I'm her favorite.
No, I think that was the genius. Everyone thought.
That's the person I want to be.
Yeah,
the one
right.
who makes everyone feel like you're their favorite. So she was brilliant.
Yeah, that is brilliant.
I just have another quick question.
Sure.
What was it like growing up with Ronnie?
Oh,
and what's
torturous.
What's a funny story that you have for us that we may not know about?
Careful now.
Something new.
I have rebuttal power too, so you know.
Okay. Well, he, it's so funny because, like I said, he stayed closer to home for a while and was pastoring a church, was well known in the community, singer. So anytime I would come home from school or come to visit, and people would meet me, they go, "Oh, you're Ronnie's sister." Like he was some famous. You're Ronnie's sister. And I'd be like, he's just a normal, mortal human being.
That's right. That's right.
Who's scared of the dark and dogs, and would jump in the bed with me at night because he was so afraid, and he'd be like, "Is the bus gonna come tomorrow? Please tell me the bus." I mean, everything. The bus driver.
I have rather than running from that, I have fully embraced the absolute cowardice of my childhood.
He was such a coward.
I have intentionally forced my children to do things that I was afraid to do, just so they would overcome that.
He was. But he obviously is not now. Like, I've seen him do things, and I'm like, man, you've come a long way. Because he was
Thanks.
Everything. Everything. And then, of course, he'll tell you this story I have to tell you about the time that I hit him in the head.
Oh, yeah.
With a garden
Legendary.
And busted his head open. So I'm just going to tell you that now before he turns it into something that it's not. I was not trying to kill him.
I was just glad I was glad I had the prong rake and not the hoe. It probably would have killed him. So
he would have had multiple holes. It was an accident.
So
completely an accident.
Yeah, completely. So you're 25 years into this preacher wife gig.
Yeah.
And if you were sitting down to have coffee with someone 25 years your junior, and she was about to marry a young man who was planning to go into the pastorate, what would you tell that young lady today?
I would tell her to be...
Run?
Run for your life. I would tell her to be kind to herself, that there is no perfect preacher's wife, so don't try to fit into a mold. That just be who you are, and you're already human, so just let people see that, because transparency is a far better way to connect to people than pretending that you're something you're not.
That's good advice. That's very good advice. Now, you've already mentioned on it, so we'll just go there. The faith you and I both inherited, the one that we grew up with, positively and negatively. Mm-hmm. And I can say, this many decades into it, that I can easily and eagerly kick hard against what was wrong. And at the same time, I'm getting old enough now to embrace the parts that were right.
Right.
and to even see in some of the harm that was done that many times it wasn't done intentionally,
Right.
but only done from the place where people were, and people can only give what they have.
Right.
However, you and I may be in different places, but neither of us are in the same place we were. And I'm not just talking about physical location.
Right.
What would you say are some of the major changes that have taken place, how you view faith, at 49 and 7/8, versus
We're almost there.
almost versus when you were 19 and headed out to the mission field?
Yeah.
What would you say?
Back then, I really saw faith. Obviously, had an active personal relationship with God, but faith, or religion anyway, was about checking off a lot of rules. You had to be the part and do the things, and this is like this list that makes us Christian or makes us a good Christian. And so it was a very intense legalistic approach to who God is. And so over the years, I would say I've been on a journey to understand what grace is, and that there's freedom, and that God is a God of mercy, and he's not wanting to beat us over the head. He's wanting to lift our heads up. He's wanting to lift us out of shame. He doesn't want to shame us. He wants to lift us out of shame. And so I would say that that's where I've come to. That's how I try to raise my own children now.
That was my follow-up. How has this changed how you raise your children? Because, as you and I have had this conversation, we both had a drug problem early on, drug to church every time the doors were open. Now, that's... I did not, for good or bad, I did not raise my boys the exact same way. I'll make a whole different set of mistakes, because each generation has to make new mistakes with their children probably, and they'll live long enough to forgive me, and they'll get through their own therapy sessions and become better people for it. But how has that? Because people might look at you and say, well, you're a pastor's wife, you're married to a pastor, you're still deeply immersed in the church. They would say the same thing to me. You're in leadership in the church, so things really haven't changed that much. But they have, because your perspective has changed. So how has that perspective influenced how you raise your own children?
I think what it does for me with my children is that I believe church is very important, and I believe that the getting together with other believers is crucial to our faith. But I always try to help them understand that church and God are not the same thing.
Right.
That going to church doesn't make you godly. It doesn't. It only gives you an opportunity to hear more truth, to do more to and then react to that truth. But God is not the same as church, and so I'm not so, I guess I give them a little more freedom to make some of their own mistakes, and then say, okay, then what do we do with it? Because what I really want them to understand is forgiveness and grace. And so it makes me say I'm sorry to them when I mess up, and it makes me not drag them to church every time the doors are open because they're the preacher's kid. I want them to be their own people and have a relationship with God, because that's what, that's where they are, not because someone expects them to be a certain way. I don't want to parent my kids based on someone else's expectation of who they're supposed to be. And I have 5 kids, and they're all very different, and they all have different needs. And so sometimes, I'm like, I'm not gonna stress being the preacher's wife today. I'm gonna be the mom to this child, because they need that.
That's good. That's a great answer. Are you are you a complementarian or egalitarian? Now, and we'll just I put her on the spot because she's still in the Southern Baptist Church, but the question is essentially this: you'd make a great pastor. Don't you think you should be given that chance?
Oh boy, oh boy.
You don't have to answer that. I don't want to get your husband in trouble.
Yes. The thing is, different denominations teach different things, and if I were in a different denomination, I would probably be the pastor, but I'm not, and I've committed my life to.
Look at that! Look at that! You see that dodgy answer there, Garrett?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that? I mean, it's a pretty good answer. I mean, I give her credit, but it's very
right.
Right. I know that I've made certain commitments in my life, but I do wonder what the next generation of post women will do.
Okay, that was you're going right to my next question. So, one of your daughters comes home, be it Bria or Haven or Jaden, and they've gone to college and they're considering graduate school, and one of them says, I want to be a pastor. What do you tell your child? Now, this is a classic, preacher's wife, preacher conundrum. She didn't come home and say, I've joined a Marxist student group or something like that. What do you do? Do you support her in that? Do you say, oh, the Bible's against that? I mean, what do you do?
I've actually had this conversation with a couple people and said, if my daughter basically said the same thing, if my daughter were to come home and say, I want to go to seminary, I would say that I don't see myself in that role because of the commitments I've made to my family, but I would do everything in my power to support them if that's what they felt God had for them.
Another good answer, I guess.
Fantastic.
She's, I like how she's, let's talk like she's not in the room with us for a minute, Garrett. And
sure.
I really respect that because, I don't want to jam her husband up. But secretly, I'd love to jam up Baptist pastors. I just love it. I mean, I love it. I can't stop myself.
Oh,
no, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Well, I just think with the whole complementarian, egalitarian thing, that both groups of people truly desire to interpret the scriptures in the right way, but I think neither one has a monopoly on truth. I think both are trying to do the right thing.
There's multiple truths?
No, don't do that.
I love this. You haven't done this to anybody else. I love it.
No, I haven't.
I think they're both trying to interpret the truth the way God intended. And so when you start to look at that, sometimes you go, well, I just can't stand dogmatically over here, and I can't stand dogmatically over here. So I would just at some point go, hope the Holy Spirit would guide my girls to be the people He intends for them to be. And I think God's will for your life is who you are. It's not necessarily a vocation or a job. Every time you look in the New Testament scriptures that say God's will for your life it's talking about your character. It's about prayer. It's about rejoicing. So if we're the right kind of people, we'll do the right things.
No, that's a good answer. I think you can be a fundamentalist if you're right or left.
Yes,
you can be it can only be this way.
Right.
Which is not uncommon in religious circles. You and I are much more familiar with the right side, but you see it on the left side as well.
Right.
I do agree that people are operating in good faith, attempting to wrestle with the scriptures as they honestly are doing it. I do think at the same time that there are some structures that are not operating in good faith, that they're protecting status quo, and don't want to share quote power. So folks here know, and you and I've had this discussion. I'm egalitarian. I think if no matter who you are, if you feel the call and compulsion of the Spirit in your life, you should be able to follow that. I was not that at 20 years of age.
No.
but that's where I'm at now. Garrett and I've had these discussions because Garrett, you don't know Garrett at all. He comes from a different background than ours, but from a theological training perspective, probably just about as conservative as ours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he came from out of the Restoration Christian Church movement, much more Midwest, which has its own different flavor than Appalachian, but
very different. Yeah.
Very different. You might want to speak to that because I think not all the churches you have served in have not. They've been predominantly male driven, I guess, or male led at the same time.
I had to sign. I remember when I applied to two different youth ministry positions, which I got. They had questionnaires, obviously, about doctrine and theology. You know, what do you believe about Jesus? What do you believe about God? What do you believe about the Bible? And then I remember specifically, what do you think, or what do you believe, and what's your take on alcohol, the consumption of alcohol?
Right.
And then, do you believe? And I remember reading this, and I was like, "Wow, that's very distinct." Do you believe women could be leaders in the church?
Yeah.
And so very, very similar, to more the Southern Baptist,
right. Just that more. I don't even want to call it traditional, and I don't necessarily want to call it biblical, because there are multiple biblical views.
Right.
It's just this is that particular view.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll move on to the next
Yeah.
theological question. Do you still believe in an eternal burning conscious torment hell?
I do.
Okay, she does. I don't, but she does. See, she's right. We're raised in the same faith. We're not where we were, but we're not in the same place now.
Right.
You can't have this discussion with a lot of people, though.
You can't. And he and I have often looked at life differently. And we both write, we both teach, we have a lot of the same desires, but we've gone about it different ways. And, I think that when you can have those conversations with people who are different from you, who believe different from you, politically, religiously, that every person deserves respect, and we should treat them with that. And when we can sit down and have a conversation like this, it is a sign of our maturity. We don't have to stop believing what we believe to respect what somebody else believes.
No, and you don't have to start hating someone because they believe differently than you believe. The one thing, and one of the reasons we've arrived at different conclusions, our experiences have been different. An experience, and I think in our traditions, all three of us here talking tonight, in our traditions, experience has not always been given weight. In the sense that, the Bible says it, God said it, I believe it, and that settles it, and it's all right there. And that's true. And yet, how most of us interpret the truth and apply the truth in our lives, it comes from our experiences.
Right.
Experiences that are incredibly unique as the people that we are. And so, I come across people all the time, and you do too, and they'll say something like, I just don't understand how they could believe something like that. That is the beginning, actually, of understanding, though. Because they have had some type of life experience that has brought them to those conclusions.
Right.
There's a question for you.
All right. Garrett has a question.
No. Victoria Hunt asked, so Ronnie, you believe in heaven, not hell?
Hey, Victoria. Victoria, it's like mine and your relationship, darling. It's complicated. No, I'm kidding. How about I address that in a Q&A upcoming?
Okay.
Because I don't want to take the time away from we have with
Ronnie, there's a comment here on my watch party from the little brother. Timothy says hello.
Oh, it's a family.
Hey, y'all.
It's a family affair.
The whole family.
Yeah, that's
This
great.
is a family reunion. We don't usually get to spend time together very often, so
I'm
this
the third
is it.
wheel.
Yeah, you are. I would say this, though, to you, Victoria. When I say I don't believe in eternal conscious torment, that does not mean I don't believe in hell.
I think I
Right?
have an idea of what
Okay.
you're saying, but I'm not going to monopolize the time.
We will
Yes.
jump out into that for sure. There's all kinds of concepts about hell, and I said I wasn't going to talk about it, so I'm just going to wait. I'll talk about it at another time. Okay, I've just got to ask you. I just got to ask you, Connie Marie.
Oh.
I got to ask you,
What?
Jerry Falwell Jr. Oh,
what? You were gonna talk about him.
what the heck?
Oh.
What the heck? I mean, that's
Okay,
that's your school, and and
I
people
know,
watching
like-
probably don't have a clue, but just to some backstory, and you don't have to say a word. I'm just goading you, which is my spiritual gift when it comes to my sister.
Right. I know.
You knew you had to know.
Don't let him get
I
you
knew,
go.
I knew where this entire thing was going tonight.
No, it's not the entire thing. It's just because it's all developed very recently. That the president of Connie's alma mater. She's an alumna of Liberty University, and that Liberty University is the largest evangelical school in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Founded by Jerry Falwell Sr. years ago. Jerry Falwell Jr. has led it for the last forever years, and he has stumbled in recent days, and I'm not making fun of his stumbles. He just, there's a lot of hypocrisy involved in those things, and every time like the story was leaking out, Garrett, and I would intentionally send these stories to my sister.
You're telling me about that with a smirk on your face.
And then Dan Alvers, who we had, who's a local Baptist pastor here in town, who did a Q&A with us a few weeks ago. I had to send them to him too, and because that's my spiritual gift, so I'm sorry about all those things. So we like to play a game at the end of our questions, where we ask just a series of questions like, McDonald's or Burger King, Apple or Android, those type things. So here's a few for you tonight. All right. Would you rather be covered in fur or in scales?
Scales.
I would say fur. I mean, because if it's...
look at Garrett. Garrett's already already there, That beard grows out in 2 days.
Yeah, you could always trim it back. Scales, you get that caught, they get ripped out. It just doesn't sound fun.
All right.
Yeah, but you're not a menopausal woman. It's too hot to wear full fur.
Yeah. I think that's very much a... Garrett, you just do not have the same experience that Connie has to understand where she's coming from. Would you rather fight a rooster the size of a rhino or 30 rhinos the size of roosters?
I think I'd go for the rhinos. Birds scare me.
Oh, birds scare you.
Mm-hmm.
Make a note.
And
Did
it's
not
a
know
trauma.
that.
Do you guys see White Elephant?
Trauma from our childhood.
Working in the chicken house?
About our years.
Oh, I talked about it Sunday about Lynn and Kurt holding me over the chicken pit.
Oh.
Yeah.
The chicken houses.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want to see another chicken ever.
I'll leave that one.
So she's not a fan of Chick-fil-A then?
Oh, everybody loves Chick-fil-A.
Even after being scarred?
Oh, yeah. All right, Connie, would you rather know 10 years into the future or change something in your past? Ooh.
I'd rather change something. I don't want to know what's coming.
I don't either. I really don't. It'd terrify me. I'd go back to my anxious childhood if I knew what was coming. What about you, Garrett? Would you want to know?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know for sure.
That's a tough one, but I'd
kind of want to see into the future.
I don't want to see the future.
I do.
No, you're younger than us. I'm not interested. All right. Around your house, would you rather it be a perpetual water balloon war or a perpetual food fight?
Food fight.
I was going to say, depends on the food. Can I eat it? Is it good? Is it warm?
All right. Would you rather live without air conditioning or without internet?
Without internet. If I had to choose between AC or internet, I want the AC. Again, menopausal.
It's a woman in the South too. Yeah.
No, I'm the same way. I hate being hot.
It's 4,000 degrees outside, and the humidity is 3,000%. So
you're probably right. You're probably right on that. My gut says internet because there's so much information.
Your Twitter guy.
So much reading. I mean, but you're right. I've been without air conditioning about a week or so out of the summer, and that's not cool.
It's not, literally.
Would you rather have sushi for life or tacos for life?
Sushi.
Are you a vegetarian now?
I'm actually vegan, so when I say sushi, I'm talking about, vegetable California rolls with, avocado or something in. But yes, I'm vegan.
Good. That's good.
I don't eat meat or animal products. I'm that person.
We one of our friends. One of our friends on here just says that he would go back in time, and his name is Nick, and he would go back and invent Noogle instead of Google and Nickbook instead of Facebook. So.
Oh mercy!
All right, a couple more. Would you rather never have to clean a bathroom again or never wash dishes again?
I'd rather never have to wash dishes again.
I knew the answer. Yeah, I did. We used to have to do chores around home, and she would trade off almost anything to not wash dishes.
Listen, my 16-year-old, that's her job. She hates it as much as I did, so I do take pity upon her once in a while because I know the struggle is so real.
Yeah, it is. It's real. Yes. Would you rather be fluent in multiple language or travel but never understand a word of what you hear?
Wow. I think I'd rather travel.
I think I would too.
I would too, because you could. Yeah. There's like a universal grunt language. You just grunt, make.
Yeah.
You can still
like Tim Allen.
Things and stuff, even if you can't talk, understand what they're saying. But I would love to travel, and I would especially, having a daughter with autism. I'm pretty much not ever traveling. I don't get to travel anymore. So, to travel would be a really, really, really cool thing.
I like it. All right, last question. Would you rather be abandoned in a desert or on the ocean?
Oh, the desert. Definitely the desert. The water scares me too.
See, look, I'm getting into all of her fears here.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
this. Yeah, the water scares me.
What would you do, Ronnie?
Yeah. I think I'd pick the ocean.
Yeah, once again, heat.
The heat, man. Have you seen my skin?
Yeah.
I fry up like
we're Irish.
I'm like bacon. Well, hey, Connie, thanks for joining us tonight. So much
fantastic.
fun.
Thank you so much.
So much fun for that far-reaching, far-ranging little discussion. Please tell Michael and the kids that we say hey. I hope I didn't get you in trouble.
Nah, maybe not too bad.
You would.
Nice to meet you, Garrett.
You wouldn't be dishonest anyway. You'd say what you felt.
Fantastic meeting you as well.
But
I'll just say this: there's nothing I said tonight that would be a surprise to Michael Post. So.
Oh no, and more. I sat on a couple questions that I knew. Just you'd have to go home and kick his rear end. So. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Much love to all of yours. Stay safe.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
So that was great, Garrett.
Yeah.
Thanks for helping facilitate all that tonight. Good questions for all of our consideration, and you can see that we were brought up in the same family, out of the same womb, but haven't arrived necessarily at the same places. But
Jacob and Esau, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, and it takes, there's been a lot of that maturity and growth that has been painful with my sister and I, as all relationships can be.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got her hands full, and I admire her greatly for the work that she puts in, not just as a parent, but she is so involved in autism issues, and has just done a fantastic job with her own children.
Incredible.
So, yeah, it's great. So just wish her all the best with that for sure.
And it sounds like we have a great question for our upcoming Q&A potentially.
Well, potentially I have a tentative guest for next week.
I don't even know who it is, so this will be fun. I might have an idea.
I can announce it tonight, or we can wait. You know what? I'm going to wait.
Let's sit on that one.
I'm going to sit on it. It's going to be a fantastic one as well, because a person known and beloved in our congregation who's going to talk about his work and what he does and how he helps people and families, marriages. But Victoria, if you're still out there, I'm going to wait for just a second and say, give me a wave, Victoria, if you're there still. If not, maybe you'll get this later. I will take up that question about heaven and hell. I would. That'd be a lot of. Not that hell is fun, but heaven is, and we'll talk about it in the weeks to come. So you've got a letter coming out about September 20th.
Yep.
And our reopening, and we'll do a broadcast tomorrow. Don't be alarmed by that. If you see strange signals coming from the church, we're trying to do
Stranger
those things. Stranger things, indeed. And we will be right here Sunday morning in the upper room several more times before September 20th. But coming up, it's not Labor Day weekend yet, is it?
It's getting close.
It's close, though, isn't it? Next weekend. All right. But, Victoria just sent me a smiley face. Victoria.
She got sugar eyes.
She's got love eyes. I love Victoria, and I love her question. She's so faithful to be on here each Wednesday when we do this, and is always inquisitive. And Victoria, I look forward to wrestling with that either next week or the week after. Not putting it off at all, but we do have a possible guest next week, just confirming that. So, again, thanks for tuning in tonight. We'll see you Sunday. Thanks, Garrett. Thanks, Connie.
Yeah, thank you.
Was a time of the preacher when a story begun.